How did you come into this, your day job?
Well, I am a marketing executive at a company, and to be honest, it was really process of elimination. I knew when I was studying that I didn't want a job that sort of confined me to a desk, and at that time, even studying communications, now I'm talking about 15 years ago, you know, communication was the new thing that was just coming about. So it seemed very exciting, it seemed very interesting that one would get to meet a lot of people, you know, travel, something that sort of brought it all together. And I kind of zoned in on marketing, I think, slowly eliminating a lot of other options and just getting down to it. And I've been at it now for about 14 years.
Wow.
Yes.
And let's talk about your other profession.
Yes.
The more creative one.
The labor of love. Yes, I blog. I have what I now define as a lifestyle blog. It's something that just came about because I was taking some time off from work because I was expecting my daughter and I was between jobs and I didn't have anything to do. And you know, when you're kind of used to keeping yourself busy, suddenly when you have all this time, you don't know what to do. So I was traveling also in those days, and I was like, what is it that I can do that I can, you know, sort of use what I do, because marketing is essentially, you know, a lot of interaction with people, and in a way blogging is a medium to interact with people. So it was a nice natural fit, and I started writing about things that I liked, because when I had so much time I suddenly realized, wow, you know, I can go to exhibitions and I can go to, you know, the bazaar, which I didn't have time for usually. So I was just rushing into the corner store and rushing out. And suddenly there was so much more that I was seeing, and I was like, hey, I can write about this. And that's kind of how it started. It was very personal initially. You know, it was all about my own experiences. But over time, it's become pretty big. So now, instead of just writing about what I've seen, we actively go after content, and we actively go meet people, go see things so that we can write about things. So it's become bigger now. Yes.
Great. Was it an easy journey for you? Because you're also a marketing director as well.
Yes. I am the director for marketing at Bharat, and to be honest, I think I was a little lucky like that because my parents were very you know, supportive of my journey throughout, and I think that's a very big thing, and I was very fortunate, I feel, because a lot of people don't have that privilege. So my parents were very pro-education, they were very pro-working, because my mother especially, she's a chartered accountant herself, and even though she chose not to work for a great part of her life, she said, you know, at least it should be your choice. You should have a choice whether you choose to work or not, and that is, but you should be, you know, you should be equipped to handle your own life if you can. So my parents were very, you know, very supportive. And then I think when you sort of grow up in an environment like that, automatically you have a consideration that, you know, whoever I want to marry or whoever I want to settle down with should be able to provide me with the same level of support. And I think I sort of very easily breezed, you know, made sort of that change or shift in life. My husband, again, is extremely supportive. He's extremely, you know, sort of independent-minded that way. He's like, do your own thing, you know. So a lot of times I think he prefers it if I keep myself busy. So yeah, that's really it. And the journey, to be very honest, it hasn't been very difficult. Yes, when I talk about the work side of it, it's always a challenge. I think it's a challenge for anyone, because at the end of the day, you have to prove yourself. And being a woman, somehow people are sort of tuned to taking a lot of things for granted and assuming that you're not as serious about your job, or your work is only till the next phase of your life, whether it's till you get married or till you have a child or till your child goes to school. So, you know, they assume automatically that your career span is much, much shorter. It's really quite funny because even till recently, I've dealt with people making comments like, you know, women are not that serious, or women are not that capable. And I take a lot of offense at that, obviously. I just feel like being in the position that I am, and the kind of work environments that one works in, it is partially your responsibility to take these things head on so that it makes life easier for other women who are coming into workspaces. I think it's really good because the organizations are also maturing to that. So luckily, all the organizations that I've worked for are very pro-women. So they consciously go and they look for, women to hire. But I'm pretty sure it's not like that everywhere. So while my journey, I believe, has been comparatively easier than most people, I think it has its challenges every day.
Right. You're also a mom.
Yes.
Tell us about the work-life balance.
Oh, wow. I don't think there is a work-life balance. I think it's all like a big hodgepodge of everything happening together. I joined my current company when I was 7 months pregnant. So I think, my child kind of grew up partially at office and partially at home. So I don't think there is really a work-life balance. I mean, at the end of the day, you constantly find yourself struggling, but it's mostly because of the expectations that either people have on you or you have on yourself. Because what I've realized over time is that somehow you find a balance. That balance is there, and even your children give you that space. A lot of us, and I mean, hats off to people who have that sort of time. But a lot of us, I feel, don't even end up giving our children space too. And at the end of the day, I don't know if it's something that I've tuned into my child, but I feel like she likes her own space also. She enjoys her own time too. So there are times when I feel like, oh my God, I'm failing at both. But then there are times that you feel like, hey, something must be right. You see your child doing something good or something smart, and you say, hey, it's not all lost. And obviously, work is very quantifiable. So you know when you're doing well and you know when you're not. But yeah.
Do you have a support system?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it is impossible to sort of function without a support system. And while I also feel that the Western world is very geared towards giving you that support system when you work, like, you have daycare. The daycare system is very established. You buy a support system. You can sort of, pay to have a support system. Here, you don't have that option. So inevitably, the only support system that you do have is your family. And like I said, while my family has been really supportive, I think one of the biggest people to help out with my career in particular for the last 5 years is actually my mother-in-law. Because, the only reason I can leave my child at home is because I know that there is adult supervision, because there is no daycare that I can send her to, or obviously there are options, but it just makes life easy. So I think that without that, it would be impossible. I'd sink probably if I didn't have a support system.
Do you feel the perception of working mothers in Pakistan is changing? Not just amongst men, but also amongst non-working mothers?
Yes, I do believe so. First, I guess everyone's really entitled to their opinion, and one really needs to not care about the opinions of people who don't really matter, because I think a lot of times we bog ourselves down caring too much also. But yes, I do feel they're changing. I think people clearly, I've seen appreciation lately. Normally, if somebody, I remember a time when if you were struggling with your work, the automatic advice that you would get is, "To phir chhod do na kaam, ghar baith ja, just stay at home. Why don't you? You don't need to work." And that was people being positive and supportive. It wasn't them, sort of pulling you down. They'd just say, "Oh, you don't need the money. You have everything. Why don't you just sit at home?" But now you get appreciation. So they're like, "Wow, you're doing so much. I could never do that." And then when somebody says that to you, it's really great. It's very reassuring. You feel like you're doing something right. And just for people to be able to say that, it does mean that there is an acknowledgement of a certain level. And it's fine, I guess. I guess slowly and steadily, but the opinions are changing.
Any advice you want to give to working moms?
Oh yes, I could talk about my experiences and just go on, but I think the key really is that at the end of the day, it is between your family and you, and how you manage it. So if you have your formula sorted, there is no right or wrong formula. I mean, there's no formula that says you have to spend X amount of hours at home, or X amount of hours doing something. In fact, it's very interesting, and I think I do have to quote this little anecdote. I once was on the verge of quitting, and I said, you know, I feel like my daughter really needs me, and she's getting bratty, and this and that, and my boss sat me down, and he's like, you know, I have a lot of appreciation for my wife. She's a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, yes. And he's like, I have a lot of appreciation for people like you who do all these kind of things. I said, yeah, that's great. He's like, well, the thing is that while my wife is there, and she is obviously spending many more hours with the children, try gauging the amount of quality time that she's ending up spending with them. So yes, she's home, but there's a time when she's in the kitchen maybe and the kids are playing in the study or whatever. Then there's a time that, you know, she's watching TV and yes, the kids are playing over there, but she's doing her own thing and everything. So that when it really boils down to it, she's spending like maybe 2 hours more than you of quality time with children. and it really, you know, made the whole equation so much simpler, because for me, it's really about maximizing that quality time that I get with my daughter. So if I'm getting 4 hours or 5 hours with her a day, then I make sure that they're good 4 or 5 hours. They're not the hours that you're just doing something else that she happens to be around. Because for all the other time, I guess that's how we're covering up. So I think it's just about having your own formula, whatever works for you.
Any particularly tough choices, decision which you took courage?
Yes, I think it's something that you do every day. I mean, literally every day when your child is dropping you to work and howling and saying, no, I want to go to office with you, you do, you know, ask yourself, do I really want to do this? But you do, and I think that, like I said, I started working with my current employer when I was 7 months pregnant. I was back at work as little as about 6 weeks after my daughter was born, and that honestly literally broke me down. I remember like the first day that I was going back to work when she was just 6 weeks old. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to leave my child behind, and is the money worth it or whatever? But the thing is, it's not really about money. I want her to have this ideal in her life where she sees that there's just so much that can be managed and managed well at all the same time. And the fact that, you know, she has choices, and it's not really, at the end of the day, it doesn't just boil down to emotion also. There's so much more that you have to give your children. You have to give them a sense of independence. You have to give them stability. You have to give them so much more. So it's not just about, you know, sort of clinging on to them all the time. So yeah, I guess that's it.
Do you think of yourself as a hero?
I think I have a bit of way to go before that happens. But if my daughter can see me as a hero, my husband sees me as a hero, I think that's pretty fabulous. And I see that with them. And it's a great feeling.
What was your miracle moment?
Oh, I don't know. I think my miracle moment, wow. I think the biggest problem that most of us have as women is that we tend to sort of downplay our miracle moments, and you know, we feel like the great big moment is yet to come. But I think when I had my daughter, it was a really good time in my life, because in all possible facets of my life, I feel like it was beautiful. I was a mom, I had a great job, I had a great husband, life was good, you know, everyone's well. And I just think that that in itself is a miracle, because every day you're just sort of struggling and, you know, going on, moving on. But I just thought that that particular moment sort of defined the person that I wanted to be. And yeah, that was it.
All right, last question. Describe yourself in one word.
Oh, impatient.
That's not very positive.
I actually do think it is. I think it keeps me going. Every day has to be something new. Wonderful.
All right, well, thanks so much. It was absolutely wonderful talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.